Hello, I hope everybody has been doing well. In this video, I'll run through the events leading up to us finally getting our PR status in Canada and some of the hurdles we faced along the way. We actually became permanent residents in April of 2022, but life happens and rather late than never. Just a brief summary. We came to Canada on temporary resident work permits. Although a temporary resident does have much of the same perks, permanent residency does give you access to more things, and it is also valid for a longer period. It will also most definitely speed up the process towards citizenship in Canada. Part of the reason we only started our PR process when we got to Canada is that you need to have access to a large amount of money to sustain your family when arriving in Canada, and you need to show the government that you've got access to this money at the drop of a dime, so to speak. In our case, that would have been probably selling a house in Cape Town to have the available funds. The other reason is that the work permit was a much faster route in our situation where I already had a valid job offer. The first year it was put on the back burner as life was happening and we were adjusting to our new environment. In hindsight, I would have started the process ASAP when arriving here. I opted for the express entry route. At the time, our work permits were expiring in less than a year, and to complicate matters further, to renew my child's visa, we would have had to apply for a student visa instead of the visitor's visa she came over on, as this is a requirement when your child starts school. To speed up the process, I applied for a provincial nomination with motivation from my employer. It is pricey, I think about $700. It just about guarantees that you will have enough points to get scooped up in the next express entry draw. Unfortunately, our police clearance from South Africa was not recent enough and the application got rejected. I immediately started the tedious process of getting new police clearance certificates for both my wife and I from within Canada. So a lesson was learned, and I would advise apply for a police clearance certificate just before leaving South African shores. Furthermore, the wait for the police clearance certificates, our medicals were going to expire as well. So we had to redo those in Canada. Another price to pay for being tardy. But problems always come in threes, and the next big thing expiring was my IELTS results, which is the English test. Our medicals were booked a week before that expiry date, and unfortunately after 3 attempts to draw blood from my wife, it was still unsuccessful. Luckily she went about 2 days before my IELTS was about to expire, and this time they had success, and our PR application could be submitted successfully with 3.5 months to go before we needed to renew our temporary status. From this point, it was a waiting game for approval. Once approved, that date is the official date you become a permanent resident. We were approved by the 28th of April 2022, 3 weeks before we needed to renew our temporary status. After approval, they send you an email to which you must reply with information such as your first entry date, your last entry date, or if you haven't entered Canada yet, the date at which you will enter. You have to create an online PR portal account, which is a separate website. On there, you will have access to the confirmation of permanent residency letter for each applicant in your application, and you will have to submit photos for your official PR card. The confirmation of permanent residency letter you will need to apply for your new SIN number, which you will need to give to your financial institution, but more importantly, the CRA. The deadline drama didn't stop there, as we were moving the end of May and our PR cards were being mailed to the address we would be moving from. We were going to be moving on the Friday, and luckily the Tuesday of that week we received our PR cards in the mail. Crisis avoided. I believe in the past, to get your confirmation of permanent residency, you would have to go do something called flagpoling, which is basically leave the country and return, and on your return, when they see your new approval of PR, they would issue the confirmation of permanent residency and you take it from there. These days with COVID, things are done online as well as the confirmation of permanent residency. So you're a permanent resident. what happens now? A couple of things need updating. Most importantly, I would say, is your CRA account. Get that done, as you need to re-register with your new SIN number as soon as you've got that. Your employer will also need your new SIN number for tax purposes. Updating your new status with your banking institution will give you access to certain perks and savings accounts that temporary residents won't have access to. The next important thing will be your license card, and in BC, your BC services card. These two can be done at any ICBC licensing center that does the cards. With your PR card, you will also get pages you can use to log your time in, or rather outside of Canada. This is important as the time spent in Canada is used to determine your eligibility for citizenship. So that will be the next big step for us. That is it for our PR journey. Hopefully my mistakes can save someone else some headaches in the future. I actually recently lost my PR card when I lost my wallet, and that is a story on its own, which I will do in a story time episode in the future, I think. So stay tuned for that. Anyhow, I hope this was helpful. If it was, subscribe, hit the like button if you enjoyed this, share it with somebody that might need it or might need some help with their PR tips. And yeah, stay safe and have a good one. Cheers.